Top of the morning to you. I'm Oliver Sloup with Blue Line Futures, coming to you from the Chicago Board of Trade with an episode of Tech Talk and slash Livestock Roundup. The Livestock Roundup over the past couple of days has been fairly repetitive, as we really haven't seen a whole lot change technically and fundamentally. So rather than just write about it, I thought we'd give you a little bit of a visual as to what we're actually looking at for the livestock markets. Live cattle, feeder cattle, and lean hogs. We'll first start off with the live cattle market here. This is August, the month of interest for us. We bumped up against the top end of this resistance range that we laid out in our livestock roundup, but really failed to get out above there with any conviction. And this just wasn't the top end of the range for May, but this was also significant support on the back of that Tyson fire last fall in August and September, and the eventual breakdown point there at the beginning of March. So we always talk about previously important price points acting as support or resistance going forward, and that it's exactly what we're seeing play out now. The chart does look a little bit more constructive than it has in the past, but I think there's still a lot of fundamental headwinds looming over this market that it's going to make it fairly tough to break out to the upside with some conviction. Not to say that it can't, but headwinds for sure that I think will probably keep a lid on things, at least for the very near term. I'm not saying that means we're going to fall out of bed here and go retest these lows, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the market continue to settle in to a little bit of a range, call it 96 to the downside to this 102 to the upside. So if you want to be long this market, I think you're going to want to be patient. Wait for a little bit more of a retreat and wait towards the bottom end of this range. If you want to be a seller in this market, well, this is the top end of the range. If we break out and close above here, that's where you take your medicine, rip the Band-Aid off, and look for a new trade setup. So that's the August live cattle contract. We'll move over to the feeder cattle chart. And same type of deal. We're just kind of trading sideways, going nowhere fast, but we are starting to coil. As you can see here, we're making lower highs but higher lows, and this typically leads to a breakout point or a breakdown point, and it is getting to the point where it seems imminent, where we're going to get that bigger directional move. A breakout above the top end of this resistance, 136, opens the door for retest of the highs, 138. Above that, the market has plenty of room to run. Conversely, on the downside, a break below this 133 area takes us down into the 130 area, and below that, a lot of room to run. So it's been a rather mute market as of late, but I wouldn't be surprised to see the volatility pick up in the next week or two, assuming that we break out of this wedge that we're forming here. So that's what we're looking at for August feeder cattle, and we will wrap things up with August lean hogs. Not a whole lot to write home about here, obviously. We're just treading water near the contract lows, and a lot of times, or what we look at is, we really want to see the market springboard off of these deep discounted prices, and the fact that we are not seeing enthusiastic buyers step in after just being beaten to smithereens over the past couple months is a little bit of a caution flag. And we often say the only thing you really get from picking bottoms is stinky fingers. So we'd rather kind of wait for a little bit more confirmation of a near-term bottom, and what is it going to take to get that? Consecutive closes out above this gap, 50 to the 51 area. If we can do that, we'll start to carve out a near-term low and maybe grind a little bit higher and encourage some momentum traders and value traders to step in and buy it. But for right now, there's, again, not a whole lot to get excited about to the upside unless you have an extremely long-term time horizon and deep pocket. So that's what we're looking at. That's what you should be looking at too. This has been Oliver Sloup with Blue Line Futures from the Chicago Board of Trade. Remember, futures trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Thanks a lot.